Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the problems from this practice test. So given the following syllogistic form, after filling in the Venn diagram here, what would be the appropriate shading? All M are P. So to say all M are P, we look at the M circle and the P circle, and we shade. Remember, when you shade, you create emptiness. So we would shade 1 and 2, leaving 3 and 4 open where all the M's are P's. Some S are M. So if we look at S and we look at M, we know that 2 is shaded. So if some S are M, there must exist an S that is an M. The only place where S's are M's is in region 3. And so we would place our X within region 3, indicating that at least one S is an M. We don't need to evaluate that this right now, but so it says after filling in the Venn diagram, well, we know that 1 and 2 would be shaded and the X would be in 3. So that matches areas 1 and 2 are shaded and there's an X in area 3. So the answer is B. But you'll notice that all of the questions relate back to the syllogism and to the Venn diagram. So for the syllogistic form in problem 1, the correct mood and figure. So let's talk about the mood first. All MRP is an A form statement. Some SRM is I, and some SR not P is O. So this is AIO. So either AIO1 or AIO4. Well, when the middle term angles down to the right, we know that that is form 1. So, or figure 1. So it's AIO1. Remember, if the middle term is subject predicate, it's form 1. If it's stacked in the predicates, it's form 2. If it's stacked in the subject, it's form 3. And if it is predicate on top and subject on the bottom, it's form 4, or going up to the right, form 4, figure 4. Major premise and minor premise, that's what I was looking for. Okay, so we will not have questions from the Boolean perspective. We're only doing the Aristotelian perspective. But is it true that some S are not P? Well, the only way it would be true is if there were an X in region 5. We know that 1 and 2 are shaded. There's an X in region 3, so some S are P. But the conclusion is some S are not P. We would need an X out here. So this is invalid from the Boolean and actually from the Aristotelian perspective. So that is an invalid syllogism. All right, no PRM. Major premise, no PRM. So we shade, we create emptiness when we shade. So we would shade 3 and 4, indicating that there's no way that an M could be a P, because that's where all the M's are P's. So shading in 3 and 4, all SRM, we would need to shade regions 5 and 6. And so 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all shaded. So areas 3, 4, 5, and 6 are shaded. E is the correct answer there. It asks what the mood and figure is. E form statement, A form, E form. So EAE, let's check that first. There are 2 options for EAE. So we have to go back and see where our middle term is. We have the middle term stacked in the predicate of both premises. And so that is figure 2. So EAE2. EAE3 would be if the middle terms were stacked here in the subjects of the major and minor premise. Okay, let's see if this is valid. You can also use your rules to check for validity. So EAE2, so if 3 and 4 are shaded and 5 and 6 are shaded, then is it true that no S are P? That is true because 3 and 6 would both be shaded. So that means that there's no way an S could be a P. And so this is a valid form. Okay, so here's another one like that, but we've gone over a couple. Another one like that. And another one. And another one. Okay, so reducing the number of terms. Some bad judges are lawyers, since some lawyers are prejudiced magistrates, and all good judges are unprejudiced magistrates. Some bad judges are lawyers, since is a premise indicator, and because it's connected by and, we know that these are our premises. So I will write those out. So we have some lawyers are prejudiced magistrates, all good judges are unprejudiced magistrates, some bad judges are lawyers. So we know our conclusion is some bad judges are lawyers. But if we look here, we have G, which represents good judges. So all G, good judges, are unprejudiced magistrates. So we know the conclusion is some bad judges are lawyers. So we have to figure out how to change this statement to include the term good judges, since G represents good judges. So the way we can do this is, if we know that some bad judges are lawyers, we know that some lawyers are bad judges as well. But we can't use bad judges. But we know that bad judges is the same as not good judges. So our conclusion, after reducing the terms, would be some lawyers are not good judges, or some L are not G. So because we want to get it into categorical form, and G is good judges, that would be logically equivalent. So some lawyers are not good judges is the same as saying some bad judges are lawyers. The major premise for the problem here, so if we look back, we know that our conclusion really, after we reduce terms, is some lawyers are not good judges. And we know that the predicate needs to be the major term, or the major premise. So we know that we need to make all good judges are unprejudiced magistrates. That would be the major premise. Which actually here, so in order to reduce terms, because we have if all good judges are unprejudiced magistrates, then saying no good judges are prejudiced magistrates would be logically equivalent. So no good judges are prejudiced magistrates by the obverse relation. So no GRP, let's see if that's an option. No GRP is the major premise. And then the minor premise, some lawyers are prejudiced, some LRP. So we have two G's major term, 2 L's, minor term, in the minor premise, and our middle term P. So some LRP. Let's see if that's an option. Some LRP would be the minor premise. All right, let's look at this one. We're going to translate into standard form here. Your diamond is valuable because diamonds are valuable unless they are flawed, and your diamond is not flawed. So the conclusion is that your diamond is valuable, or all things identical to your diamond are valuable stones or valuable stones. So this is our conclusion. And we have because, that's how we know that the premises are following, that these are the premises. Diamonds are valuable unless they are flawed, and your diamond is not flawed. Okay, so the major premise, so we know this is the conclusion, all things identical to your diamond are valuable stones. So let's see if that's an option. Yeah, so the conclusion is all things identical to your diamond are valuable stones. So 27, the answer is E. But here they're asking for the major premise. So the conclusion is all things identical to your diamond are valuable stones. So we know that valuable stones is the major term, so it needs to be in the first premise. All unflawed diamonds are valuable stones. No things identical to your diamond are flawed stones. Thus, all things identical to your diamond are valuable stones. So the major premise is all unflawed diamonds are valuable stones. Okay, so all unflawed diamonds are valuable stones. The minor premise is no things identical to your diamond are flawed stones. So that is not an option. No things identical to your diamond are flawed stones. And really, we need unflawed diamonds here. As the middle term, because the middle term has to be the same. So what's another way to say no things identical to your diamond are flawed diamonds? Is to create the obverse. All things identical to your diamond are unflawed diamonds. And here we have the same middle term. So the minor premise is all things identical to your diamond are unflawed diamonds. So let's see if that's an option. All things identical to your diamond are unflawed diamonds. And then we know the conclusion we already said, all things identical to your diamond are valuable stones. And just a couple more. Harold must be guilty. After all, he was arrested. This is an enthymeme, so it's missing either a premise or a conclusion. So Harold must be guilty is the conclusion. He was arrested was the premise. You can pause the recording and look at these options. What is a missing premise? So we can eliminate D and E because it says they're conclusions. Harold must be guilty because he was arrested. All people who are arrested are guilty. So B. So if you are arrested, then you must be guilty. Harold was arrested, thus Harold must be guilty. Modus ponens. So 31 is C. The story appeared in the National Enquirer, therefore it is not believable. Okay, so therefore is a conclusion indicator, so it is not believable is our conclusion. The story is not believable. So we can eliminate A because it says it's a conclusion. So we have a missing premise here. The story appeared in the National Enquirer, therefore it's not believable. Pause and take a look here to see what you think the answer is. Missing premise would be something like, all of the stories in the National Enquirer are not believable, or that appear in the National Enquirer. Stories that appear in the National Enquirer are not believable. D. So D is the missing premise. And we'll do one more. Given the following enthymeme, luxury cars are expensive and Cadillacs are luxury cars. So these two statements are connected by and there is no conclusion. So we need to draw a conclusion. So if luxury cars are expensive and Cadillacs are luxury cars, then Cadillacs are expensive. B, Cadillacs are expensive. That's our missing conclusion here. All right, that brings us to the end of the things that we'll be covering in the final exam from chapter 5. I hope you found this video helpful.